I'm Jinya. I grew up in a religious family where rituals were a daily routine. But I wanted to know the reason behind everything. And as I studied science later on, I was against irrational devotion. That is why, when I saw the Shiva Lingam being worshipped at home, I was interested in studying the different forms of Shiva worship. I learnt that there are two kinds of Shaivites. One group worships idols of Lord Shiva, while the other worships the Lingam. I wanted to discover the origin and the scientific reason behind the shape of the Lingam. In Sanskrit, the meaning of the word lingam is sign or symbol. Layang yati iti lingam, which means that from which all lay is obtained, that is lingam. Then, is it all religious interpretation? Or is some of the original mystery of creation hidden behind this? All Shiva temples in the country, including Kedarnath and Amarnath, have a strange similarity. The entrance to the main temple is narrow. Later I learned that this was to defend the idol from invading conquerors.
রামেশ্বর মন্দির গিয়ে অনেক জিজ্ঞেস করে নিতে হবে একটু।
The 380-year-old Rameswar Shiva Temple in North Kolkata, near my home, managed to survive unlike the other temples on Chitpur Road, which were broken down by Nawab Sirajuddaulla's army during the Battle of Plassey. This ancient temple attracted me, and there I was at Nandaram Street. The entrance to the Baba Rameshwar Temple was but a few steps down the typical North Kolkata lane. As I entered, we met a young priest of the temple who told us that the height of the temple is almost 60 feet and it is located on 17 kathas of land. As I approached the main temple entrance, in front of my eyes lay the almost 6 feet high Shiva Lingam with 3 notches along its length. Scientist Niels Bohr used the atomic model to analyze these notches as representations of the three atomic particles proton, neutron, and electron. The Shiva Lingam is an atom. Vishnu is the positively charged proton, Brahma the negatively charged electron, and Shiva the neutron which has no charge. This is why he remains at peace and in a meditative state. Being at peace implies stability. The circular disc around the lingam is called the energy layer, also called Renuka and Rudrani. Renuka is Lord Shiva's feelings, and Rudrani is Rudra's feelings. This layer of energy is the nature of the universe. When Rudrani occupies Renuka's position, then Shiva assumes his Rudra form, meaning neutrons are broken and nuclear fission begins. Rudrani is of a destructive nature, and the reason why Shiva takes on his Rudra form. This is why that form is that of the destroyer. In other words, the Shiva Lingam symbolizes the universe and the complete symbol of God. One Shiva Lingam can combine the creation, preservation, and destruction of the universe. Spirituality is not just about remedies. It is the repository of wisdom, telling stories about man's lifestyle. Perhaps that is why man dives in surrendering himself, from which is created an illusory power, which is a blessing, which we call God's grace. Surrendering all thoughts of good and bad, we run to the gods for self-purification. These were my thoughts when Mr. Taposh Dotto, an officer of the temple's trust, who is also a Shiva theorist, enlightened me more.
Actually, this is the oldest Shiva temple of Calcutta. Calcutta I mean the greater Calcutta. If you compare with Bhukoilash also, it is much older than that. If you compare with the Budo Baba, the Ahiritola temple, that is also much younger than this temple. This, the history stretches back to nearly 380 years. As per record, it is in the year 1655. One Nandaram Shein, he was rather famous or infamous, whatever you call, in the course of the Indian history, because he was the first black deputy collector of East India Company in 1702. The collector was Ralph Sheldon, and he became the first deputy collector. Actually, this temple's history is somewhere else. He was in search of some saint or guru or temple where he can get a divine voice. So when he went to Rameshwaram, he had a divine voice that why are you going here and there in all over pilgrimages in India? It's better you go to Shutanoti. The Shutanoti is a place in Calcutta now presently. This is where it is located. You will find a Shiva Khetra there, the place of Shiva worship, and you will find a Moni Baba there. When he came along with his wife, he was blessed with children. And after that he had consecutive 4-5 children, Nandaram Shein. The journey began from there. He was so amazed by these divine blessings that he constructed a big temple here. He acquired large piece of land till the bank of Ganga river. But the history I am telling is much before Raja Navakrishna Dev came into Calcutta, the Shobhabazar Rajbari famous. So this is the background history of this temple.
The more one learns, the more one's doubts and ignorance are removed. That's why I couldn't resist the temptation of seeing the whole temple in its majestic height, which cannot be seen when you are inside the temple campus. So we ventured into a neighbor's terrace, climbing a dark, eerie staircase to catch the Baba Rameswar Dhaam in its true magnificence. In front of my eyes stood a historical edifice that was wrapped in a story of devotion, the prevailing society, time, and change. The temple architecture is in the Chala art style with curved tops and cornices. The mandir architects called Sutradhar were Hindu, but the workforce were mostly Muslim. In this area, Mahadev exists in 3 different forms. First, in the area between Ahiritola and Nimtola, Mahadev exists as Durgeshwar. Then, in the Shobhabazar area in Nandaram Street, Mahadev exists as Rameshwar. And in the Kumartuli region, Mahadev exists as Nandishwar. Besides, earlier this region was a cemetery. At that time, the Ganga flowed close by. This temple is one of the most traditional and historical pre-colonial temples of the 1800s. I sat in a room next to the altar in front of the Nath Mandir, listening to some more history from Taposhta. Apparently, there is a tunnel below the temple, and there is a room on top of the temple that has no doors, only 4 lattices and an altar. It is said there are skeletons and treasure chests there. I learned that the lingam is decorated in different ways for the different pujas. Taposhta's son, Abhishek, does the different decorations. Like his father, he too is a lawyer by profession.
Primarily, in the course of awakening the Kundalini, we find different deities representing the ultimatum. So, we find this form in the outside in the form of Shiva in different shringars. We use Ardhanarishwar Shringar that represent the Agya Chakra. We use the Vishnu in Jagannath Shringar that represents the Anahata Chakra, the Hridaya Chakra. We represent the other Shringars also, Ganesha Shringars that represent the Moola Chakra. So different deities is resembling of a single ultimatum form of Shiva. In the awakening of the spirituality, we doesn't find any abstract belief. We find the entire realization to be true and to be visualized. Day to day, we change the different forms of Shiva to a different deity, Devata. In Vedas, there is a Rishi, the Kanva Rishi. He says that who is the Shakti behind all the Devatas. So in reply, he is saying that it is the Rudra that is giving the power to every Shakti.
I was amazed to find that for 2 generations, they are immersed in this temple and Shiva theories. Obhi began preparations to decorate the lingam. With the chanting of mantras, the lingam is bathed and musk is applied. And then the lingam is dressed as a strong, spirited man. It is a fascinating environment. The temple implies spirituality, and it also implies reunion, drawing people from all walks of life.
ঢাকুরিয়া থেকে আসি, সুদূর দক্ষিণ কলকাতা। হ্যাঁ, এখানে একটা অদ্ভুত একটা অনুভূতি হয় এখানে আসলে। আমি শিবের কেদারনাথও গেছি, বদ্রীনাথও গেছি, সেসব মন্দিরে যেসব অনুভূতিগুলো পেতাম, এখানেও মনে হয় যেন কিছু একটা আছে, সেই রকমই একটা আমি অনুভূতি পাই। এই জন্য আমি এই টানে মাঝে মাঝে চলে আসি। আমি
এখানে আমি আসি বাবার টানে, মায়ের টানে। এই মন্দিরে এসে আমি মানসিক শান্তি অনুভব করি। আমার একটু প্রবলেম ছিল মানসিকভাবে, যে আমার ছেলে একটু অসুস্থ ছিল, কিন্তু বাবার অশেষ কৃপায় সে এখন অনেকটা ভালো হয়ে গেছে। আর আমার মেয়েও এখানে আসে, তার একটু সন্তান দেরি হচ্ছে সন্তান হতে, তার জন্যে একটুখানি মানসিকভাবে ভেঙে পড়েছিল। কিন্তু এখানকার যিনি অধ্যক্ষ মানে তাপসবাবু, ওনার যোগ শিক্ষায় ও অনেক এখন ভালো আছে।
Like a mother repeatedly says, "I love you," some devotees show their devotion by getting involved with the details of the daily puja. Listen to one such devotee. Renowned photographer Indranil Roy explained why he comes running here. As I listened to everyone's words, I understood that they all have their own paths.
মন্দির সম্পর্কে বা বিষয়টা কি জানতে পেরেছি সেটা হয়তো অতটা আমার কাছে পরিষ্কার নয় এখনো অবধি, কিন্তু একটা টান আছে সেটা অনুভব করলাম। And I feel that this architecture, this is very old architecture, more than 300 years old, and it has got a certain attraction which you cannot describe very normally or in so much in words, but it has got a very distinct architecture with a idol which is very high and very imposing sort of, but well, it attracts.
I'm a devotee and staunch believer of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Rameswar Dhaam is a Shiva Shakti temple. I came here and started praying to Lord Shiva and see that I have feel some vibration, some positive vibration here, fantastic positive vibration here. And I also participated here the different pujas of different deities, Durga Puja, Shivaratri, Ratha Yatra, and I feel the vibration, and I also observe that proper procedure has been maintained in this puja.
Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev, Satyam Sivam Sundaram. Shiva is personified Sundaram. Shiva is the primordial Lord who gives you a lot of happiness, joy, tranquility, and believe me, when I'm absolutely, out of my wits, facing the Sansar Samudra, as it's been said, যখন ত্রিতাপ জ্বালা, it's known as the the fundamental ways how a life is being destroyed. You are tossed through the waves. Shiva, who is inside you, and he gives you a lot of power. As you can understand, you can feel the tremendous energy and power. And I have been coming here for around 6 months. This is a more than 350 years old Shiva Lingam. And as I touch him, as I sit before him, quietly with myself, I am filled with a joy, with a feeling of joy, a reverence, a feeling of deep sense of understanding the self. So in one word, if you tell me why Shiva draws me here, this is pure love. He destroys all the evils, all the anger, all the frustration inside you, and he transforms you. And that is why whenever I come over here, I feel absolutely blissed out. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev.
The evening prayers began with the sound of the thak, the bronze bell, and with the lighting of the 5 lamps.
Om Jai Nityam Mahesham Radhagirvam Charu Chandravadangam Radhana Kalpojvalangyam.
As I stood in front of the idol, I realized that we run to places of pilgrimage essentially to awaken our inner divinity. It was getting late, time to return home. I took with me the smell of the incense sticks, the overpowering tilak on the forehead, and a strange holiness, and felt the need to awaken the Shiva within me.